Hello, my name is Munyambabazi from Uganda. I'm here to share about a few things. I am a survivor of a landmine explosion. I lost my leg to a landmine when I was 22 years old, and I had to deal with PTSD, I had to deal with mental health issues, I had to deal with the struggles like anyone would understand losing part of your body can bring along your life, especially when you're still young. And so along the journey of healing, I had to encounter a lot of things. I decided to go back to school because I felt like there's nothing else I could do with my life other than going back to school, where I was fortunate enough to still have a sound brain on my shoulders, and I was able to continue with school. Why am I sharing this? Most of the times we live with mental health issues, PTSD, and we don't even know that we are dealing with until you're able to share your story with someone and you realize what you're dealing with. And mine comes when I was invited to speak to a patient, a 14-year-old girl who was suffering from osteosarcoma of the lower leg, and the only solution for her treatment was an amputation. I was invited by one of my relatives who believed because I'd healed, I was using a prosthetic, I was at school, thought I'd overcome the PTSD, the mental health, the issues I was dealing with, and he knew I was okay, I was the right person and believed that I was the right person to speak to this young girl. So, yeah.
It's okay.
So, yes. I went to the hospital, met this girl. To be honest, I didn't know what to say to the girl because myself, I was still suffering. I was still dealing with a lot. My mind was not right. I had chosen the course I was doing at the university, but it wasn't the right choice for me. But I did it because my mind was telling me I can't do medicine, which was my childhood dream. Because my mind had crippled me. It had made me feel like, how are you going to stand for hours in an operation room to do surgeries, do long hours of ward rounds? So when I was invited, I didn't know what to tell this girl. But my only tool was my life story that I didn't know was going even to have an impact. So I meet this girl, I ask her what is going on. She tells me they want to cut off my leg because I have this cancer, but I don't want to lose my leg. How will I relate with my friends and all? How will I go back to school? So all I had to tell her was about my life. When I joined the army, how old I was, why I joined the army. And before I joined the army, yes, I was in school, and then there was an issue of school fees, and then I was a footballer, a very good one, and one of the sports teams, which at the time was called Simba FC, belonged to the UPDF, the Ugandan army, and I had been told that if I joined them and I started playing football for them, I would later on continue with school. So I told this girl, look at me, I was a footballer, I joined the army. Unfortunately, at the time, the Rhodes Resistance Army in the northern Uganda was at the rampant. So we were shipped to the front line. And along the time of service, I lost my leg to a landmine. This is the story I tell this girl, this little girl. And I lost my leg. After losing my leg, I had to go back to school. So I told her the whole story of how long I spent before I even got to the hospital, how long I spent in the hospital, what the pain was like, what impact it has caused. And after sharing with her, I told her, now I have a new leg, I have a prosthetic leg. She had never heard of something like that. She had never seen anything like that. So as I stood up to walk away, she saw me walking perfectly, and she had to ask me, why, you said you lost your leg. How come you're walking? So I had to struggle showing her the leg. It was a struggle because I used to hide it, so it was all concealed in covers and trousers, jeans and all that. So after sharing with her, I get on a border to go back home, to go back to my business. I had no idea what I had done. So her parents called me and they asked me what I had said to the girl. The mother was actually crying on the phone. I was like, what have you told my daughter? What have you said to her? I was like, why? I was actually concerned. I was like, why? Why are you saying that? Then she was like, this girl, we've not seen her smile in a long time. And she's telling us with enthusiasm, smiling and telling us to schedule the surgery with the doctor so they can amputate. What did you tell her? I was like, no, I didn't tell her anything special. I just told her about my story. And that was really my turning point. And I realized that when you share, actually sharing is healing, as I like to say it. So that was the time I realized that my story was not a tragic story anymore. It was a story that can heal others. It was a story that can save lives. It was a story that was impactful on other people. And so I decided to start using my story to help other people that were going through traumatic incidences like I'd gone through. My first target was actually my other landmine survivors, like the ones I know in northern Uganda, those who were shot and lost their legs, those whose relatives, sons, husbands lost their legs to landmines or were killed by landmines. That was my first target. But when I started doing this work, I realized we had a lot of traffic accident victims that have become disabled as a result. So I started doing that, and along the way, I met people from the trauma tapping technique, which at the beginning I didn't really understand. I didn't know how connected it was to everything, but I remember the first time I met Gunira in Nairobi, and she was teaching me how it works, and she was tapping me. Out of nowhere, I found myself crying. I don't know what happened. I don't know where the crying came from, but that's the point I started to realize that we don't really know our bodies until we get to be told about how our bodies work. And there are things as simple as tapping anyone can do, and it is very, very helpful. And so later on, I met Gunira because now my organization had actually grown. The people were many that were meeting, so I met Gunira in Kampala. And she also trained a few of my people. We did a workshop. We remind each other once in a while, and I think this is like why I really need to emphasize this, because when you've gone through something traumatic and maybe then you end up losing part of your body, there is this thing we call phantom pain or phantom sensation. Sometimes they are just sensations, sometimes they are intense pain that are really unbearable, and there hasn't been any really concrete study that says this is the ultimate treatment for PTSD. So you have to do everything to make sure that you get relieved of the pain, otherwise it is going to drive you crazy. Some people have committed suicide over this. Some people have ended up just numbing themselves with drugs, with alcohol, and doing things that really destroy their lives. So to me, I started learning that tapping can actually help you. Tapping helps your brain shift its focus from what you lost, shift from like stop sending impulses to what is not there, and only focus on what you're remaining with. And a few of my patients, let me call them patients, who I have counseled and they understand the tapping technique now, have told me that when the phantom sensations come and they start tapping, they reach a point and they don't know at what point the pain has gone away, the sensations have gone away, simply because they are tapping. And it's as simple as tapping your forehead, tapping your eyelids, below your eyes, the sides, under your nose, under your chin, your chest, under your armpit. These points have a lot of connection with the rest of the body that we don't understand. You have to go deep for you to be able to understand how this works. So along the way, like through the pandemic, about 3 years ago, I started feeling these intense phantom pains that I'd never felt before, that I never even felt a few years after my injury. And I must say that the trauma tapping technique has been impactful on that. And I've also been, because I can also relate the mirror therapy technique for the phantom pain to tapping, because you're tricking your brain to focus on something that is there rather than what is not there, and therefore the impulses that would be causing the pain on your foot, which don't exist, on your arm, which doesn't exist, is focused on something else. So I've been doing the mirror therapy, and when it's my foot being stabbed, I usually massage my foot. But I've now learned that some people have been doing the mirror tapping, which I think is the same. So maybe when the setup is good, we can also make a video and show how that works, how you can actually manage your phantom pain using the mirror, but also doing the tapping. Because it's something that is ignored. Even the surgeons, even the neurosurgeons will not understand it because they have never faced it. They only hear about it from their patients, but they don't know how it feels. But if you have felt it, trust me, you will be looking for every possible solution you can get to help yourself, rather than turning into things that are detrimental to your life. So, yeah, I think that's what I had to share.
And now in your professional life, what are you focusing on?
Oh, yeah. So, along the way, I did a diploma in medical laboratory technology.
Just wait a second, let's see if this guy leaves. My goodness.
I hope he's leaving. What did he do to his car? He's poisoning our air.
Post-traumatic engine.
Yeah. So along the way, after my injury, by the way, this is something I don't know how I did. I don't know where the strength came from. But I guess what they say, that when you want something so bad, the universe connives with you to get it to you. I was in the hospital, I was in pain, I was angry at everyone, I couldn't sleep. And so I was young, and my mind told me that the only thing you can do with your life right now is reading. So I actually bought books. The dream had always been a medical dream. So I bought books and started reading from my hospital bed. I read and read until I felt I was ready, found a school, registered, did my advanced level exams, and went and did a diploma in medical laboratory technology. But then I finished it and I didn't feel like my life was accomplished yet. So I went and did a degree in medical laboratory science. At the time, I could have gone for medicine and surgery, which was really the dream. As a childhood dream, it was that I wanted to be a medical doctor. But I couldn't go for that because of post-traumatic distress disorder, and dealing with that, my mind had just put me in a box and told me, you can do this, you can't do this, you can. So I had to go and do medical laboratory science, because then I knew I would just be research, where I was focusing on microbiology. So I was like, I would just be in the laboratory, culture my organisms, do sensitivity, do my research while I'm seated. So yeah, my mind had told me that's where my possibilities stop. So I did that degree and went back to work with the government. I was in the laboratory and I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt like if I never do medicine, I will regret it at one point in life. So in 2019, I decided that I needed to go back and do medicine and surgery. And I'm currently in my 4th year. God willing, I will finish my program by May next year. And I will be a medical doctor. But because of my experience, because of what I've seen people going through, because of the challenges I've seen in our hospitals, and the way mental health and PTSD is being ignored when giving treatment to people that really need it, and it is left out. My focus, which I feel like it's my calling, is rehabilitation medicine. And that's where I think I'm going to specialize. That's where I think I will make more impact, because I've learned that it's easier for someone going through something to listen to you when they know that you have actually gone through it. And when you meet these people and you empower them and they get the healing they require, they badly need, then they also go on and do the same to other people. So the impact I start with creates a ripple effect on very many other people, and I think that's how we need to change our societies when it comes to mental health. So yeah, that's where my focus is now.
But could you just also tell a little bit about your engagement to hinder these things from happening?
Yeah, so, and then I didn't look at that as my professional aspect of life, but over time I've been told, recently I was chairing a panel in Geneva about rehabilitation, which had professors from Johns Hopkins University in the Prevention of Injury Institute. I had professionals from World Health Organization, and I was chairing the panel in Geneva. And one of my opening statements was like, I'm sorry, I'm talking about rehabilitation, I'm not an expert. And I was reminded that I should never say that again, that I'm not an expert, because they believe the expertise I have, no one can teach it to you in school. And so that's one of the things I'm doing. I'm trying to ensure that the victims of landmines are helped in the right way. They get the help they need, and one of the pillars of helping them is actually rehabilitation, because without rehabilitation, their lives cannot move forward. Their progress is limited in a way. But also, I got involved in the campaigns of making sure that the people who manufacture landmines stop. Those who have in stocks, they destroy them. And they also stop using them in areas with armed conflicts, because landmines are indiscriminate. They are indiscriminate weapons. They don't know that this is a civilian. They don't know that this is a child. They don't know that this is a mother. They don't know that this is a soldier. They are meant to destroy the combatants, not the civilians. So they are indiscriminate in that way. And they will lay low. They will be there for years and years and years and years, even when the conflicts are finished. They will create impact on people who know nothing about what the war was about, or the person who manufactured them, because like all the mines that maimed people in Uganda, in northern Uganda, we don't know who manufactured them. We don't know where they came from, but we are living with the impact of that. And so I got involved with the international campaign to ban Landmines, which is an organization based in Switzerland, Geneva. And I am also contributing my small part, putting my voice out there to ensure that no one else gets to lose their leg, no one else gets to lose their father, no one else gets to lose their son because of landmines, because these should be weapons of the past. These should be weapons that are left behind and we can't use them anymore. It's unfortunate that recently in our last monitor report for landmines and cluster munitions, the 2022 report showed that we have brand new landmines being used in Ukraine, which is very sad. And the landmines being used are different from the ones we are used to. Yes, they are improvised explosive devices which are also meant to be triggered by people, so they are still anti-personnel mines. But the ones in Ukraine are different in that they are deployed remotely. Someone doesn't have to be on the ground to plant it. And then when someone steps on it, it explodes, and to either maim their legs, to either take their lives. And the people deploying them don't want to know whether this is a place where civilians are passing or whether it's only combatants that are there. So it's sad that in this time of our lives, we are still having such happening. It makes me really sad. And that's why I got involved, because I wouldn't want anyone to lose their leg meaninglessly, because it's a meaningless loss, so to say. Yeah.
If somebody who was watching this is either just amputated or considering amputation, is there anything you'd like to tell them? What I can tell them is, if you're already amputated,
you have already lost your leg, but you still have your whole life ahead of you. It doesn't matter how old you are, because none of us knows how much longer we have here. So you cannot live in the past. You have lost your leg, it's gone. I usually tell my patients that when that happens, when you lose your leg, if you are dreaming in, let's say, times 10, start dreaming in times 100. Dream bigger, start dreaming even way bigger than you dreamt when you have your both legs, because you know that you have a little bit of a challenge. It's really an obstacle. With the right treatment, talking to the right people, you can overcome it, and you can do everything you have ever wanted to do in life. You can even do bigger things. That's how we should look at life. And to those who are considering that, if your doctor has told you that that's the only line of treatment you can get, there is no need to worry about that. As I have said, you lose your leg, it's a lost part. You have to focus on what you're meaning with. I mean, what percentage is just part of your leg? It's like telling me that I have $1 million, and because someone has removed $10, I no longer want it. So if it is your body and you have lost a leg, you have just lost a percentage of your leg. Find the right help, find the right treatment, get a prosthetic. You somehow you get to find ways of going around it and live your life impactfully, live your life productively, and do things you never even thought you could do when you had your both legs. So it's the most important thing is to focus and get the help you need. Yeah.
And in rehabilitation, how do you think you can use this trauma tapping technique when you are, both for you personally and now when you're becoming a professional in it?
So the biggest part of rehabilitation, yes, to me I look at rehabilitation differently. My kind of rehabilitation would be someone has been injured, or someone is diabetic, or someone has cancer and they are going to be amputated. My type of rehabilitation is this person is received in the hospital, start right away. Before you do an amputation, let this person know the challenges they are going to face and how to deal with them. Because I've seen that when that is done, even the person goes to the OR when they already know that this is something I'm going to overcome. Recently, like 5 days ago, I went to Murago Hospital at night. I had a patient who called me and I had to rush them to the emergency room. And when I reached there, I was in my shorts as usual. And there was this man in his 50s, and he had a diabetic foot, and they had scheduled an amputation. And for anyone who has been in the emergency rooms of our Ugandan hospitals, they are always really, really packed. And in states I don't want to talk about here. So after seeing the doctor, I was walking out, and I had someone shouting, young man, young man, young man. I walked to him, and the first thing he said was like, you're very, very smart. I'm proud of you. I was like, oh, thank you. He was like, I'm here. They're going to cut off my leg. I have a diabetic foot that has failed to heal. And I was very, very, very worried. I didn't know how to go about this. They only told me that they are going to amputate me, and they didn't tell me anything about what will happen after my life. So this old man, after saying that, I was like, oh, yeah, no, you're going to be fine. It's like, I know now that I've seen you, I now will be fine. Because I am seeing you, you're in your shorts, you don't mind anything in the world, you're walking easily, you have a patient that you're holding the arm and all that. So I was like, now I know I'm going to be fine. So I gave him my phone number, and I followed up. Before, like a day before his amputation, he called me. I went and saw him again, and that's why I'm saying that to me, my kind of rehabilitation is it should start from when you receive the patient and you know that the treatment you're giving them is going to require them to have rehabilitation, which is a lifetime health service that this person will need for the rest of their lives. So if you prepare them from the very beginning, then it makes it easier as life goes on. And of course, they'll get the mental health treatment, you give them a prosthetic, but then there's also this challenge that most of these people, their life has changed. The work they used to do, they can't do it because it required maybe physical strength. And now you've prepared them mentally, you've given them a prosthetic, but then what? Some of them need skilling, like training them in some other work they didn't know how to do then, but they can do now and still be productive members of their communities. So for that, the fact that rehabilitation is a health service that is continuous for the rest of your life. I usually tell people that I was able to deal with PTSD on my own and I beat it. But still myself, there are times that someone says something to me and it ticks me off. You're going to have phantom pain, and phantom pain, there's nothing that can heal it other than finding your self-care, your solutions, personalized solutions that will help you. And to me, I've learned, along with the colleagues that have gone through my hands, that trauma tapping technique, for goodness sake, it is called trauma tapping. So most of the times, the people who lose legs, the people who need rehabilitation have been through traumatic incidences. So when you learn the technique of trauma tapping, and me, I've like tried to read and associate it with Chinese medicine and all. And when you also learn neurology in medical school, you realize that we have this photographic mapping of the brain to the rest of the body, and like all our parts are connected somehow. So trauma tapping has been helpful in rehabilitation, and most especially the mental health of rehabilitation. I've seen people getting relieved because of tapping, relieved of the phantom pains. Myself, it does help me a lot. So it should be part of rehabilitation. It should be part of course, as I've said, people have to find personalized solutions to their issues. But at least for the people who are using it and they do it to get relieved of this, I have had testimonies. They tell me that they do it, and at one point they don't know when the phantom sensations have gone away. They don't know how the pain disappears, but somehow it disappears. So I believe that it is because of how the whole body is connected, how the brain, our hands, our legs, our chest, the nerves, the nervous system is interlinked. When you're tapping, you're mostly looking at pressure points where we have a lot of innervations. So as you do that, the sensations that are sent to your brain somehow end up connecting to the rest of your body, and you relieve this energy that is causing you this pain. You relieve this energy that is bringing these negative thoughts and somehow you focus on what is important and what is positive. And when you're positive, then if I know that someone is now positive, then I know that I have achieved my objective of rehabilitating this person. So trauma tapping technique can be very, very helpful. We just need to find a way of teaching it to as many people as we can. Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.